Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you are. If you are still confused about the state of online gambling regulation in the US, you're not alone. So we've stepped in to bring together some of the top legal experts in the industry who know what's up and how you can prepare, finally, for regulated iGaming in the US. Today, in our live roundtable discussion, we're hosting an all-star panel, including Sue Schneider, Larry Walters, and David Zesch as they share their opinions on some of the major burning topics regarding future plans for iGaming law. If you have any questions about any of the content presented today, as always, we will be providing an extended Q&A session for the last 20 minutes of the webinar. You're welcome to submit your questions throughout the presentation using the question panel and the GoToWebinar panel on your right. Before we get started, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, the official CAP Network, the only iGaming network that delivers simplified reporting, the best offers in the business, and quick payments. If you're looking to drive revenue to your brands and expand your casino affiliate marketing efforts, then join the most cutting-edge one-stop shop for managing your offers, reporting, and payments, all for free when you join. Just click the link on your screen and you'll be able to register. Now I'd like to welcome our panelists today, starting with Lawrence Walters. Lawrence G. Walters, heads of Walters Law Group, www.gameattorneys.com, a law firm that is focused on representing the interests of the online gaming and affiliate community for over 20 years and has presented at numerous CAP events. He has been involved with litigation throughout the country dealing with gaming and advertising issues, including the domain name seizure issue in Kentucky, internet sweepstakes promotion challenges in Florida, and game censorship issues at the U.S. Supreme Court. Mr. Walters is a longtime member of the International Masters of Gaming Law and past president of the First Amendment Lawyers Association. Mr. Walters has published several law review articles on internet law and gaming issues, including publications in the Stanford Law and Policy Review, UNC Chapel Hill Law Review, and the Gaming Law Review. His most recent publication involved best practices for gambling advertising, including in regulating internet gambling, published by UNLV Gaming Press. Next up is Sue Schneider. Sue is one of the world's leading experts on the internet gaming industry, which she began monitoring in 1995. Starting as an owner of leading gaming consumer portal from 95 to 99, she then launched River City Group, which produced the largest iGaming events in the world, as well as key industry trade publications, such as iGamingnews.com. In 2006, River City Group was purchased by Clarion Events, one of the UK's largest event producers, and Schneider remained as CEO Americas there until July 2008. She remains the principal of eGamingBrokerage.com and consults on a variety of other independent projects in the industry. She currently serves as editor-at-large for Liebert Publications Gaming Law Review and Economics. In addition, she's a partner with the US-based conference iGaming North America and is a frequent speaker at international gaming conferences and has testified to both the US Senate and the US House of Representatives. Joe Brennan is unfortunately not being able to join us this morning, so on to David Zesch. David Zesch, who practices iGaming law in Nevada, advises both iGaming and Bitcoin industry clients in various international markets. In the affiliate space, his current clients include Poker Trip Enterprises. David also has a hands-on management perspective on internet poker, liquidity, and profitability, which underlies his comments here. From 2001 to 2007, he helped found, build, and was CEO of True Poker Yadahe before selling the poker network following UIGA. David is a general member of the International Masters of Gaming Law, earned his MBA from Yale University School of Management, a JD from Georgetown, and an AB from the University of Chicago. Phew, I am winded after all of those accolades. Everyone, welcome to the webinar. We're really excited to have you here this morning.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you.
Without further ado, we'll get going. I'm just going to give a quick background before the experts start talking. So Nevada was the first state to legalize online poker earlier this year, but New Jersey is poised to rake in a much bigger jackpot from iGaming when Atlantic City's 12 casinos offer legal online table games and slots at the end of November. Meanwhile, Delaware's 3 casinos are said to offer cash winnings for online slots, poker, blackjack, and roulette by the end of this month. And don't forget smartphones. Nevada gamblers can already use their smartphones to play online poker, and Atlantic City players will be able to bet on their phones later this year. So the question remains, where do we go from here? First thing is first. What do you think the next 3 states to regulate online gambling will be? Sue, I'll let you chime in first.
Okay, and I think you need to separate those who may be putting their lottery products online, because I think there are a number that are sort of in line to do that, in addition to the ones that are already up and running. But if you're looking about to talk about either poker or casino, let me eliminate a couple first. I've had a chance to speak with the Senate Pro Tem in Iowa, and he will not be introducing one this year just because of a variety of reasons. The last 2 years he's put in a poker-only bill, but didn't anticipate doing that this year. Florida is and Larry can speak to that more, but I think they're looking at such a long, broad view of what they're doing with gaming with this study and all that I don't see that they would be. And I think Pennsylvania is sort of in that same category, even though they've kind of been banding about. I think Illinois will be looking at this, and possibly Massachusetts. I don't know that I would have a third. I mean, you have to talk about California, but between the tribes, intertribal, intra-tribal card rooms, it just still seems like a circular firing squad in California. So whether or not they can get it together to come up with some cohesive proposals for 2014, they could be on there, but I'm not that hopeful myself.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, Sue, this is David Zesh. Yeah, I wanted to address the California question because there were some discussions that I heard this morning, actually, from one of the gaming commissioners there, to the effect that there are the 2 pending bills in California, that there's an expectation, certainly there's been discussion of a 3rd bill coming in. The card rooms and the tribal interests are still in what you aptly described as a circular firing squad. What I can tell you, though, is at G2E, we definitely picked up a lot of stories about various tribal interests in California, 3 of whom at least may seek to do some sort of a launch on what I think is an interesting legal theory that it's already Class 2 gaming, be it poker or bingo, and they can just go ahead and launch anyway for real money, and they don't need any further legislative action. I think that'll end up being viewed adversely by the state, and it will end up being tied up in the courts. I have no doubt. But I think that you may actually see something that will break the logjam that we have in California now. So I would put California as one of the next 3, and certainly the most significant among the next states to possibly launch something.
Yeah, this is Larry Walters. I would certainly agree that California is in the running. We've seen the existing bills. Another bill is expected in the spring 2014 session. And there's so much push in California for iGaming regulation, and as much push as we've seen for it, we've seen equal pushback. But there's the pressure is mounting, so I think you have to look very closely at California. In terms of Florida, we have a large, long-standing study being conducted by the Spectrum Group to reevaluate Florida's approach to gambling in general, which has been going on for quite some time. A portion of the study has been released. Another portion is due to be released soon. And essentially, the conclusion is that Florida could benefit from additional casino gambling, possible iGaming, but destination casinos are being looked at very closely. We've had a lot of action in Florida in terms of regulating internet cafes that have kind of broken into the action that were traditionally the realm of the Indian casinos and the state lotteries, and the state took swift action to eliminate the internet cafes, but in doing so, very broad, it created a new definition of a slot machine that broadly regulated what is a legal and permissible slot machine, and that could have some impact on the ability to offer iGaming in the state without, again, changing the existing legislation that was adopted in April of this year. So it's a complex issue in Florida, but I think it's a state to watch. Anything could happen after the Gaming Commission reveals its study and provides its recommendations to the Florida legislature. New York, I think, is a state to watch as well. They've got this November vote in connection with the casino referendum. There's been some discussion by legislators in New York about trying to compete in the online gaming space and potentially open up that area. And whatever state is the next one to consider online gaming, I think that you will see inclusion of references to compacts with existing states. I know we're going to talk about that later, but that's something to keep in mind, that the smaller states are somewhat hesitant to launch their own iGaming system unless they're able to form compacts with larger states. So that's some of the political and legal pressures that are at play when considering what the next states will be.
Great. Thank you for answering that. On to our next question. What do iGaming regulators and lawmakers think about the concept of affiliate marketing? Larry, I'll let you pick this one back up too.
Okay, so regulators are kind of playing catch up, I think, in terms of affiliate marketing. The focus has really been on legalization of the operation of an online gaming site, typically either by the state or in conjunction with a brick and mortar casino. The casinos being perceived as already having the experience and the ability to lawfully operate gambling activity. It's actually somewhat counterintuitive, as those in the iGaming space know, that operation of an iGaming website is a very different business than the operation of a land-based casino. Different marketing factors at play, different ways to make an iGaming site a success as compared to a land-based casino. And affiliates are absolutely key to the success of an internet site. And that's something that the regulators are going to learn, if they haven't already, and going to have to come to grips with. Nevada has already created a category for licensing affiliates or promoters of gambling websites. They have an application package and criteria and so forth. So they're kind of ahead of the curve in terms of regulating affiliates and affiliate marketing. But the other states are really going to have to play catch up and come to grips with the fact that affiliates are going to have to be key players and key components to the success of the iGaming space. And it all comes down to then, what are the criteria going to be for licensing affiliates? What are the restrictions going to be? And that will take us back to things like FTC compliance and guidelines, disclosures, unfair deceptive trade practices. I think that will provide a good guideline for regulators when coming up with restrictions and criteria for licensing online affiliates, proper disclosures, making sure that ads are not focused on underage players or compulsive gamblers or unrealistic prize-winning expectations, those kinds of things. I've written a little bit about that in my best practices articles. But I think that's going to be the focus of the regulators as they begin to understand the importance and the need for affiliates in the iGaming space.
Well, I sure hope not. This is David Zesh, only because I would hope that the regulatory approach will be somewhat like they're doing in Nevada, which is we'll have a licensing investigation, but pretty much affiliate marketing is going to be subject to monitoring probably by the operators or by whoever the licensed affiliate is going to be, because their license is going to be the one that's going to be on the line. Fortunately for the industry, Nevada has been expressly commented about the master sub model being something that they understand and they look for. In New Jersey, the recent amendment to the regulations as they came out talked about, yes, affiliates will need to be licensed in New Jersey, and pretty much anybody who's going to try to do some sort of a pay-for-performance deal, and I took that to mean CPA deals also, will have to come in and get a license. Now, there is a trend in the industry on the part of the operators, though, to try to deal with marketing without really going to the affiliates at this point. And as Larry mentioned, they'll need to understand that affiliates do have a role, especially if marketing gets competitive, in finding and targeting on a cost-effective basis, the likely customers that they're going to need for the the overall liquidity that everybody seems to be so concerned about. So, Larry, the only reason I said I hope that the regulators don't get into trying to adopt wholesale things like the FTC requirements is that I don't think they're equipped to do that. I was very pleased with the discussions in Nevada today, in which they pretty much will look at people who have experience in the industry, and try to rely on them in a really almost like a consulting role as to how they should deal with affiliate marketing issues as they come up. I don't know that they're going to come out with hard and fast regulations. They're going to say, look, you have to follow this guideline or that guideline. I just don't think they're going to take that approach. And I hope other states, as they come online, similarly look to the experienced affiliates and say, what works in the industry. We understand what your role is, and we want to encourage you to help us build the businesses that we need.
Yeah, I completely agree with your comments on the hope and the approach. And I mentioned Nevada, and I like the way that they adopted their approach toward affiliate marketing and kind of rely on the master license holder to monitor the activities of the affiliate. I have a sense that once government sees that there is a room for regulation, it's very difficult to resist sticking their nose in it and adopting those criteria. And it may be that that affiliates would be subject to existing laws relating to deceptive trade practices, both at the state and federal level anyway. So to the extent that that can be pushed as a basis for not separately regulating affiliates, I think that that's a good argument that the proponents of iGaming would have, and hopefully we'll see the rest of the states go the same way as Nevada, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. But there's always temptation to regulate.
Yeah, but the key thing in this area, though, I'm sorry.
Well, I think specifically to the question, I mean, the lawmakers, the policymakers are clueless about affiliate marketing. The regulators probably, other than Nevada and New Jersey and Delaware at this point, are one notch above in terms of their knowledge level. And I think the problem is they tend to see it, they're equating it to junket operators, frankly. And so they're trying to figure out how to handle this. And I think any regulation that's out there is probably coming more from their fear that they're, when you speak with the regulators from those states that have adopted this now and are trying to implement it here by the end of the year, they're incredibly fearful that it's going to fall on its face for some reason. And the concern is that extends to the marketers, again, because if they kind of go rogue and the operators don't control them well, then that's going to reflect back on the whole operation. So I think that's sort of what's driving it. I think a more critical point is whether the operators feel like there's value there. And I don't know that there's going to be a big take up right at first from the operators to use affiliates. I think their thinking is, we're going to develop this on our own. I could be wrong, and I hope for the affiliates that might be listening that they're able to make some inroads and educate them about what they're able to bring to the table. But I'm fearful that the operators are basically going to say, we'll go it alone. We'll see what we can do, and then we may get with you after we've exhausted all our other efforts.
Actually brings us. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I agree. Yeah, I think that is going to bring us a different point. But just returning from just a moment to what Larry had said about the government tendency to regulate, whenever possible, if they see an opportunity, just expand thereafter. I think there's a key distinction between regulation at this point at the state level and at the federal level. The state level, well, one of the comments made this morning in some talks that I was listening to were state level regulators have a limited amount of resources. They can't add people to their regulatory body very well to look into areas that they don't think are crucial to them. I think that there's a better opportunity, since we're at the state level now rather than any federal involvement, to have an industry that comes in and says, look, we know how to self-regulate, and the operators will work closely with the operators, so you don't have to pass a bunch of rules about us and then have to devote resources to enforcing those rules. we and the operators can get together and work out the best ways for the for the industry. So I'm a little more hopeful that at the state level than I would ever be at the federal level. There's not an unlimited amount of resources to regulate.
Great.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Sue actually brought something up that segued nicely into our next question, which is, how far off do you realistically think it will take before the land-based casinos operators exhaust their existing databases and before they say, hey, affiliate marketers have some of their own, databases that we need to take a look at? I'll open this question to all of you. Maybe Sue, if you want to pick back up on that.
Well, I mean, I am hearing that some of the larger ones may try to do this, mainly because I think some of the operators are smart enough to have brought in marketing people that have been in the business for a while, are familiar with affiliate marketing, have been affiliate managers for other offshore interests. So that leads me to believe that maybe there is a chance that will happen sooner than later, and that's, I think, encouraging. But again, you talk with other operators, and they're like, no, we have a huge database and we know how to mine it, and we'll do what we can. So, I think it's going to be a mix. I don't know that there's any way to know exactly how it's going to shape up, but I think there are going to be some pioneers in it in terms of the operators that are going to look toward the affiliates right away, but others may take their time.
Yeah, I'm really pretty much the gloom and doom guy on this one. I think the state-by-state rollout of iGaming is encouraging operators to think not even just existing player databases, but all I have to do is put a bunch of ads up on TV. I can cover a media market pretty easily. Why should I share all this value with affiliates? And to a certain extent, that's what we've seen in Nevada. I think what is going to happen, however, is as operators come online and red ink starts to flow, they're going to look for more cost-effective means of marketing, and I think then you're going to see much more of a turn toward affiliates. On the good side, however, I think that because states will roll out on a limited basis, subsequent states may not repeat what I think will be the mistake of throwing too much of their marketing into television, general media buys. And I think that later, as states come out, I think you'll see them going to the affiliate model, perhaps more quickly even. I think it would behoove any affiliate dealing in any state to try to work out a deal with operators who may also be working in future states to try to bring them players now on play money basis and lock those players in as your players, so that when Ohio, for example, effectively rolls out, you already have a player database that you built up for them and they've been tagged to you, so you'll be able to get paid perhaps when Ohio finally turns to real money gaming. So you can get ahead of the game with them, maybe by saying, look, I've got a database all over the country already. You're not going to go out and buy television all over the country. Let's make a deal now, and I'll bring you players that you can pick up as you roll out.
Great. Larry, do you want to comment on this one?
I guess the only thing that I would add is that the customer base for an iGaming website may be somewhat different than who traditionally visits a land-based casino. And so in terms of going through the database that has been acquired by the land-based casino and their rewards program and so forth, that may not be as profitable or as effective as using affiliates to market to the right people who are already interested in iGaming, perhaps as opposed to land-based gaming. I agree with Dave that it's ultimately a cheaper option than the media buys, and that ultimately that it has to be considered as an option. I think it will occur fairly quickly as the land-based casinos realize that perhaps the marketing that they're doing to their customers is not being as effective as they'd hoped, because these players want to come to a casino and not necessarily sit on their computer or their smartphone and play games.
Well, I think Larry brings up a good point. It is a different business. We've heard that, routinely from people. And as long as the operators are knowledgeable enough to know that it's potentially the opportunity to grow their market to people that may not come in. then that's the argument that needs to be made by affiliates. We have access to people that you may not have coming in there now. The other thing I wanted to bring up, and I don't think we should ignore it, is the lotteries again. If you're in Illinois or Georgia or one of the other states that probably will be coming on, they're used to paying for marketing and sales through their land-based network. And, I don't know if anybody has approached the lotteries yet in their respective states, but I think it's worth the effort to make those conversations a priority. And whether it's directly to the lottery or whether it's to some of those outlets, the convenience stores and things like that. I mean, maybe there's a way to partner up with them and say, look, we know how to do it from the internet side. You know how to do it on the terrestrial side. Let's team up. So I'll be curious to see who takes advantage of that among the affiliate community and break some ground there, because I think there's some opportunities there.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point. As you've heard from me a number of times, I really think the lottery route is much more adept at moving into the iGaming area than than any of the casino backers. And I think you've used incredibly valuable advice right there to approach them and say, look, you're used to the affiliate model. You pay a commission for sales even to your local land-based gas stations or whoever's selling tickets. So try to treat us the same way, and we'll bring people in online. How acceptable it'll be, I don't know, but they're good. They will be looking at more. They're not really going to be looking at poker as likely as they are to be looking at instant tickets or some form. What is the equivalent of a casino game online? So yeah, I think those are contacts that would be good to start now. I think you gave a wonderful piece of advice there.
Great.
Completely agree.
Thank you. Speaking of lottery, so what niches do you think stand to have the most revenue potential? Is it casino, poker, sports betting? Is it lottery? David, I'll let you kick this one off.
Okay, great. Were sports betting legal, I think would be your greatest opportunity. The margins are highest there. After that, casinos probably your biggest potential revenue. It's going to be tough to convince the casino operators, though, which is why you actually have a better shot with lotteries if they go into games of chance online. The problem with casinos is that, as Sue noted, they do tend to view affiliates sort of like junket operators, and I will tell you that compared to what casino affiliates are used to seeing in other markets, the online casinos, when they operate in the U.S., are going to be looking to pay you something like what they pay junket operators, which is very, very little. You're not going to see CPA deals of like several $100 being thrown at you here. I think your services are worth it, but I just think you'll have a very tough sell. So potential revenue, sports first in places that are going to allow you to do that as an affiliate, which, by the way, is not something that is allowed in Nevada, which ironically is the only real legal sports betting opportunities. Online is only poker there. I think that we will see them branching into casinos and maybe even to sports in the future. Poker is a low margin business, and they're not going to be throwing a lot at you. You may see CPA deals, but I've heard of negotiations with operators that you say, why would I even bother sending you players if you're going to give me $10 a player? So it's revenue potential is going to be different among the channels, but more importantly, it's going to be different among who the operators are. Are they going to be lotteries? Are they going to be smaller casinos versus the larger casinos? And are they going to be tribal?
Yeah, I mean,
Larry, do you want to?
David was reading from my talking points, I think.
Sorry.
I completely agree that if the sports betting were legal, that would be the absolute most profitable. And it seems like it's got to be a matter of time before Nevada branches off into that. There's some resistance, but it will happen to the extent that you can make any headway in the courts. Thus far, it's not been successful, but to the extent any legal challenge succeeds and opens up sports betting elsewhere, that would be the most lucrative. I think that poker should be given some consideration in terms of profitability. I agree, it's a low margin type of game with the rate, but to the extent that there are a sufficient number of states that form compacts together, and we have that large liquidity, then I think that there is some realistic profit potential from poker, because it's just a popular game and a well-known game across the country, and could be picked up easily by a large number of people that may have some resistance to learning some of the more complicated casino games. The online lottery ticket sales would seem like they would have a significant profit margin if properly marketed, and so that has to be thrown into the mix. And regular casino games would probably be at the bottom.
Yeah. Bob, I just want to address. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sue.
Well, the thing I wanted to mention is probably within the next 6 to 9 months, there's going to be maybe 2, possibly 3 tribal coalitions that are going to be putting some products online for real money play, and they will have some challenges, and so it is something that may take some time to sort out, but they will be open to affiliate marketing. So that's certainly something to keep an eye out for. And the 2 sort of newer entrants on the product side, and again, I have no idea personally if anything they are doing or will do in terms of affiliates, but you're talking fantasy sports, and particularly the daily fantasy sports that are developed now, as well as the social gaming. So I think those are things that should be added to the list in terms of at least getting them on your radar and seeing maybe if some approaches to them would be pertinent.
Well, actually, I think the daily fantasy sports industry pretty much grew out of the poker affiliate business. The folks that I know who are in that area, you're preaching to the choir there. I think they went into the business themselves rather than being the affiliates. If you take a look at the sites, it looks just like a poker affiliate site. The interesting thing, I think, I just want to return just for a second. Although sports betting would be lucrative if you could get an affiliate deal in Nevada, they're not going to allow it right now because they have this understanding. It's a legal issue with them. They're convinced that if they put sports betting online, as opposed to by telephone, and they do have it online, but they create you literally have these virtual networks, private networks where nothing else can run on your computer while you are logged in onto the sports betting one. They're concerned that if in any way that they're transmitting sports information, even if it's in data packets that cross state lines and come back into Nevada, then they're somehow violated the Wire Act. And what I've heard is the concern that if they open up sports betting to affiliate marketing, and oh my God, that'll be just like taking their taking sports betting information and transmitting it across state lines as part of their affiliate operation. So if we can win that legal argument and convince them that affiliates are not the operators, then then maybe Nevada will open up the sports betting side, to affiliate activity. But it's interesting. It's hung up on this one legal point that they're afraid that transmitting any information across state lines is going to even if it comes back into the state, is going to violate the Wire Act somehow. And I've argued this with them. I just don't know if they're ready to. When the red ink flows, maybe they'll look then. But right now, they're being real cautious.
Yeah, it seems like the Attorney General opinion dealing with the lotteries and the applicability of the Wire Act would have given them some comfort on that issue, but they're taking a very conservative approach. So the resistance is there, and hopefully folks like you will be able to convince them to overcome it. The one thing that I would add, I guess, to the list again is the alternative gaming options, kind of the skill gaming and penny auctions and things that aren't really gambling but may feel like it. We represent a lot of those folks, and the affiliates do fairly well, and it's available throughout the United States. So I think that's something that there is some profitability and should be included in the list.
Larry, let me ask you a question. What kind of rates do skill games pay their affiliates? How do they pay them? CPAs or rev share or what?
Yeah, we see both models. The affiliates tend to shoot for rev share, but not all the companies are comfortable with that. But we see both models.
Great. I'll move on. Also, Joe Brennan is trying to log in. He was coming late from a conference, so he is trying. I'm trying to work with him here. So if you hear a new voice, hopefully it's Joe. So this question was actually meant for him, but I'll let the other three experts chime in. Do you think New Jersey is prepared to handle the infrastructure of online gambling with the start date just 1 month away? I'll open this up to you.
I'll volunteer.
Okay.
The head of the gaming in New Jersey, Dave Rebuck, this morning said absolutely yes. That they will be ready to go. They'll probably have at least 5 operators will be ready to go. So I'll take him at his word, and his information is accurate. I talked this morning also to one of the operators in New Jersey who says yes, absolutely, we'll be ready to launch. It's somebody who's using a product that has been used internationally before. They've gotten, they expect to have everything approved, and we'll be there at least on the poker side, within by launch date for sure. So they're all saying yes, and I don't have any reason to doubt them.
Yeah, I don't have any inside information into that, other than maybe those folks can give some tips to the federal government for their healthcare.gov site.
Yeah.
Stu, do you want to weigh in, or should I move on?
That's fine. I don't have anything else to add. You haven't really, or are you going to be asking about, is Delaware going to be ready in 9 days?
I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I don't know the answer to that. I've heard questions about it, but I don't know the answer.
And by the way, I just want to add, in New Jersey on the affiliate side, affiliates really would still need to be licensed there, and you're not going to get an affiliate license within the next month. So I know that I have a client who applied for a license, and we'll probably be able to get them to start doing business, because I think that with the of the ancillary service license, there isn't a requirement that you get any transaction waiver before you go ahead and start doing business. So if the operators are willing to deal with affiliates, then then the opportunity will show up. I just don't know at this point that like there may be a launch in a month, but I don't know that they're going to have any appetite for affiliate marketing yet. I think that may take them a little while when the doors don't get beaten down immediately for them. The one concern that I have, by the way, is if you are a poker affiliate, that you may see that states as they roll out, whether New Jersey or someone else, are more inclined to go with games other than poker, simply because the poker software is the toughest one to get ready, whether your launch date is a month away or or 6 months away. It's when we talked earlier about the revenue potential for casino, I think in New Jersey that's really where you're going to see your revenue potential, and so that might be the players that you're going to end up marketing to once everybody gets licensed and running.
Okay. I'll move on. How are regulators tackling the interstate compacting dilemma? And perhaps one of you can explain to our audience exactly what interstate compacting means.
I'll take a shot at that, I guess. The concept of interstate compacting is simply an agreement between various states to share in a transaction, either a business transaction or some activity. Here, when we're talking about legalized iGaming, all of the states that have legalized this activity include some sort of reference to or legislative history discussing potential compacts and the ability to enter into compacts with other states that have legalized iGaming. So, this concept of entering into compacts with other states and sharing player databases and prizes and so forth has been anticipated by the legislation. We've seen predictions by the MGM CEO that a compact between New Jersey and Nevada will occur by 2014. I don't know if that's accurate, but time will tell. But there is some precedent for compacts in the horse racing arena. The interstate compact for horse racing licenses has been in effect for years now, and that provides some uniformity to the concept of licensing criteria. I don't know if that would ultimately be what the iGaming world needs. Each state looks like it's developing its own set of regulations in terms of licensure, but there are other compacting elements that could be of benefit, particularly in the poker area where player database numbers are critically important, and really the poker concept doesn't work in small states, so that's going to be essential for any success in the poker arena. And the smaller states would then have a larger incentive to consider iGaming legislation, particularly poker legislation, if they were able to compact with larger states. And I guess in terms of precedent, there's also some precedent with the Powerball prize sharing, which is governed by the Multi-State Lottery Association's rules and regulations in terms of prize sharing. So, this concept of sharing state by state prize awards and sharing in the activity of gambling is not unprecedented and will occur. It's going to be a trial and error situation as the states try to navigate their way through the various issues associated with coming to agreement on issues like licensing criteria or prize sharing or database sharing, advertising, etc. But this is an area that we will definitely see some activity in, and I would not be surprised if we see compacts occurring in the next year or two.
Thank you. I also want to note to our audience, David and Sue are both attending a conference, and they shared with me that there's some construction going on at the hotel that they're at. So that is the background noise you're hearing, I am assuming.
Yeah, I tried to get him to shut it off, but
It's okay.
There
Just wanted to let everybody
are rules
know.
involved. Okay, yeah, but however, the good news is that Sue and I are at a conference which primarily is discussing multi-state compacting.
Mm-hmm.
The bad news, in my view, is that there is a real attitude that seems to have set in big state versus little state. The biggest state was basically saying, we don't need you, you need us. And the next biggest state, probably that's active, namely New Jersey, is saying this morning was saying, well, we want to make sure we have our own product up and running and everything's good, so that we have something that people might want to join. So if you're looking at compacting, I don't think you're going to see it before, maybe the fourth quarter of 2014. It'll be an interesting argument. The littler states, however, I think have the most to gain. And I think that if they do move ahead with legalization, and certainly Nevada wants to sign everybody that they can up, and it's Nevada. People are pointing fingers at Nevada, saying you only want compacts. You're driving that discussion because you need it. Like we, California, we don't need it. However, Nevada has a great entrepreneurial spirit. I think that they will be pushing with as many states as they can to get compacts, to get legalization and compacts. The interesting thing is that if in the poker area, you have 30 states that if 2 or 3 of them got together, they'd basically have a population of around 8 or 9 million, which I think would be sufficient to support a regional poker economy. So I think you may see compacting, but it's, I think, taking a real step backwards on the toward the horizon, because I think that the bigger states are more concerned about getting their own products and protecting their own markets before they look to add liquidity. In other words, California may say to Iowa, as was said this morning, we'll take your players, but we aren't really interested in compacting with you. So that's paraphrasing what some of the regulators were saying. I'm not quoting them directly.
Okay. Sue, do you want to weigh on this, or shall I move into the Q&A portion?
Well, I think the only thing that I would want to add, and again, I just unmuted myself here so that you can hear me with just while I'm on there. But I think a lot of the discussion that came up where there might be problems down the road when people do get around to compacting is on suitability issues, and whether one state might find a particular party suitable and another one might find them unsuitable. So I think that was some of the interesting discussion that was going on, and one of the finer points there. So I would agree with David. I think it's down the road. I don't think it's anything that's imminent, unfortunately.
Yeah, I do think, however, you're much more likely, if the industry develops along the lottery lines as opposed to the casino lines, I think you avoid a lot of those issues. As Larry pointed out, they already do know how to compact for things like prize pools for Powerball. They also are not, they are themselves sort of like their own regulators. There's not an independent commission that looks at the lottery. If the lottery and a state wants to do it, they pretty much have the political pull to be able to say, we're going to run it, and we're going to do it. And there's no qualification because the other operator is another state. There's not going to be suitability issues. Maybe concerns about who's going to get to run the joint venture, but it's not going to be, oh my God, we can't use this or that contractor. It pretty much will be, Illinois may be talking to Iowa, but it's not going to be, like, is the casino operator from Illinois allowed to take Iowa casino players? I think if it goes down the lottery route, I think you're much more likely to see it advance. But that's just that's just like horse racing. Everybody has an opinion.
Great. Thank you. That wraps up my questions, but I've had some really great ones come in throughout the roundtable discussion here. And the first one is from Matt. Will working with existing rooms like America's Card Room, Carbon Poker, etc., prevent affiliates from promoting rooms who partner with U.S.-based casinos like 888, Poker Stars, Betfair, Party Poker, etc.?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Why is that?
Well, to the extent that a room is currently U.S. facing, and I don't think you would be able to pass muster under any sort of a licensing arrangement if you were concurrently still taking that business. And I say that having operated a U.S. facing room that was sold to a network that operates U.S. facing rooms now. I don't think that you'll be able to work in a regulated environment and still concurrently handle that business.
Okay, great. Next question. This might go along with the compacting issues we discussed. Will a Nevada affiliate license be worthwhile in any other state? And do you see other states following the same strategy?
Well, I'll throw in an opinion on that. It will depend on the nature of the compact that is developed and whether or not the other state, aside from Nevada, decides to recognize the method in which affiliates were permitted to operate and engage in affiliate marketing activity in Nevada. That leads to this idea of some sort of group licensing criteria and the development of a compact that would perhaps say, if you're licensed in Nevada, then it's okay to do business here, and that would certainly make sense and streamline the process. The same concept should go along for affiliate marketing. If you're okay in Nevada, then you should be okay to market in the compacting state, but it would ultimately depend on the terms of the compact negotiated.
Yeah, I think Larry's right about that. The only thing that I could add to it really is that, having actually been down that road already, if you go through the licensing process in Nevada and you get through the process, you get all your documents, you get all your histories done, and you get all your approvals done, when you go to New Jersey, the questions and everything that are answered are remarkably the same. It's almost like if you've done it once, then you probably have not only can you say I've already been approved in another state, you also will have put together all of the information. We're talking 5 or 10 years of your life. You've already pulled all that together, and the application process will be a lot less painful going down the road somewhere else. But there are only so many ways you can ask for 5 years of tax returns or things like that.
Exactly.
Now, whether or not the licensing fees will be identical in different jurisdictions, and will you have to pay some fee everywhere? That I don't know. But the actual process itself, if you can get through it in Nevada, you can probably get through it anywhere.
Okay, great. These questions are all sort of related, but what do affiliates need to specifically do to promote rooms in New Jersey and Nevada, such as licensing, having a physical presence in the U.S., etc.?
You either have to get licensed, or you will almost certainly in Nevada and almost certainly in New Jersey be able to possibly work as a sub-affiliate under someone who is licensed. So, there may be some economies there where if a master affiliate sets up and has to maintain some local presence, you may be able to work out a deal with them and piggyback off of that. This is something, this is kind of a new area, but this is what I think for folks coming in from overseas, this may be the way that they want to go. And and I've had discussions with a couple of people who are looking at that from overseas. And that's what I've been telling them when I charge them money. So that's what I'll tell you for free.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning that anybody who's considering doing that should contact legal counsel, because it could end up being a complex situation, particularly if there are no affiliate license requirements, and even if there are, you'll need guidance through the licensure process. And to the extent you're looking at sub-licensing, those are all ripe areas for legal advice.
Okay. This question is from David. Since the DOJ has stated that the Wire Act only applies to sports betting, why don't the online casinos based in Nevada and New Jersey accept bets from the 42 states that have no laws against online gambling?
I don't know what 42 states you're talking about, but what I'll tell you is that nobody wants to risk their Nevada license by taking bets outside the state when the state tells you not to do it. They're being cautious. It's intra-state. They're not looking, unless they get an agreement with one of those 42 states or whatever. They're not going to do it without getting at least a compact with the states that'll expressly permit them to do that. And I think that's the right judgment. I know it's tempting. I know it's like, oh, let's just go ahead and hit the market because it's there. The demand is there. Consumers want it, but that's not how you look at it if you've got a regulated gaming license already, right, in one jurisdiction.
Yeah, the licenses are too valuable to take legal risks like that.
Yeah, a quick history lesson. American Wagering, which was a licensed sports operation in Nevada, opened up a sports betting operation like 10 years ago out of Australia when it was legal in Australia. And basically, Nevada came after them to said, look, you can either shut that down or you're going to lose your Nevada license. So, I can't see anybody risking, the wrath of their home-based licensing authority, and the home-based licensing authorities don't really see any road to do this other than by compacting with another state. So until you get a state-to-state agreement, you're not going to see any licensee, whether from New Jersey or anywhere else, going into what everybody would call the gray area. It's just not going to happen.
Great, thank you. Okay, Sue, maybe you want to chime in on this one. What do you foresee as the scope of online bingo?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. It's amazing how little has been talked about that in the States. I think where you're going to see that bubble up, and again, maybe sooner than later, is with some of the tribal casinos. I think that's going to be imminent. So I'd keep an eye out for that fairly soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I would chime in now. If you want an answer, that you may want to Google Desert Rose. They're not a client of mine. I have no affiliation with them, but I understand that they launched tribally an online bingo operation for play money, and was told at the time that they would expect to go live with it for real money pretty soon. So, Google that and watch that, and you may have an answer on bingo.
Okay, great. So, just to be clear, this is another question from our audience. Just to be clear, as an affiliate, it's legal to promote outside of the U.S. if I live in the U.S., right? There is no wire law that I am breaking? ?
So the question.
If you say out, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say the question is, are you permitted to promote casinos or iGaming sites that block U.S. play if you are an affiliate in the United States? Is that the nature of the question?
I believe so. So he is based in the U.S., but he wants to promote casinos outside of the U.S. Hopefully, if who asked me that?
Yeah, assuming
Hopefully
that
he can
that's
chime in. Go ahead.
yes, assuming that's the nature of the question, and it's a common question. The reality is that there are aiding and abetting laws and conspiracy laws that are very broad, and to the extent that the casinos being promoted are not efficient or perfect in their blockage of U.S. play, that could be problematic for the affiliate. And so it's a matter of due diligence to ensure that there is no activity in the United States with regard to the sites that are being promoted by the affiliate. We've seen actions by the U.S. government and by investigators at the Department of Justice to try to break through U.S. play blockage and test any geo-blocking that occurs on non-U.S. facing websites. And so to the extent that that's successful and some customer service guy lets a U.S. player come through, that's a problem not only for the casino but potentially for the affiliates. So there's always a potential danger, but in a perfect world where the site being promoted has no interaction with the United States, no U.S. players, completely blocks U.S. play, then the U.S. wouldn't have any basis on which to assert U.S. law.
Okay.
I think, yeah, that's true. I think that you may want to be cautious, though. Remember, just because you're in the U.S. doesn't mean that you can break laws elsewhere with impunity. If you sign up with a casino operator, for example, who decides that they want to promote online gaming in Ecuador, and you're an affiliate of theirs, I'm not sure that you want to be sending players to someone who's operating illegally in another, with markets in another jurisdiction. So, there's an enforcement risk there, but you should at least get them to, assure you that not only are they blocking U.S., but that they are licensed somewhere that will require them to watch where they do business. I wouldn't want to be promoting in a casino that's doing business in Turkey. I wouldn't want to, or any country that's got an embargo. The U.S. is embargoed. Other than that, the Larry's advice is good, which is, it's if the fact that you are in the U.S. doesn't mean that that you're barred from promoting activities outside the U.S. So U.S. law looks after the U.S. and unless somebody decides they really want to do a favor for somebody overseas and show them how cooperative they are in preventing criminals from the U.S. from tainting Ecuador. I pick on Ecuador only because they kicked out casinos recently.
Yeah.
Got time for a couple more questions. I've had a lot come through. So this is from Josh. Is there a website or place I can go to apply for a New Jersey affiliate license?
Yeah, the Department of Gaming in New Jersey has the forms online. Just Google the Division of Gaming Enforcement for New Jersey, and they'll the applications are there.
Okay. Which of the big companies stand to lead the pack when it comes to online gambling in New Jersey? That better be some really nice renovation at that hotel.
Trust me, they need it.
So, Sue, maybe do you want to chime in on that one? Which of the
well, I think just if you look at the numbers, there were 12 licenses, 12 facilities, 12 licenses. 4 of them were owned by Caesars, so they're going to have sort of a third of the licenses at that point. So I would think if you look at that, then there's probably critical mass for them. They also have signed up or said that they've done a deal with Wynn.
David, would you mind
so
muting
he's going to
while
be bringing
Steve
his
checks?
Okay, I'll try. I'll do my best.
Thanks.
How do I mute it? I didn't realize it was that loud. I'll find it.
If you just mute it, David, just hit the little green microphone and that mute it.
I'll get it.
But anyway, Caesars has done the deal with Wynn. I think another one that's probably going to be pretty solid is Borgata, just because they're seen as probably one of the most profitable and popular casinos there.
Okay. One more question. What do you foresee as the biggest roadblocks for affiliate marketers with in a regulated online gambling world? Maybe Larry, you want to answer this one?
Well, number one is whatever criteria are adopted by the particular states to allow for licensure. Some affiliates may be blocked because of prior activity, a checkered past, problems with their finances, or other promotional activities they've been involved in, and so the barriers are going to be constructed by the states that have designed the affiliate licensure criteria. And essentially, we're looking at things like your prior activities that the government's going to engage in some level of due diligence potentially, or they'll rely on the operator to conduct that due diligence. And if that's the case, then the operator is going to look closely at what the affiliate has been involved in the past to make sure that that their own license isn't put in jeopardy by the affiliate's activities.
Okay.
And I think the thing to add to that is just the cost. Some of these have substantial costs. So, there's going to have to be some cost benefit analysis done by people as to whether it makes sense for them. And I think that's maybe what some of the larger companies are looking at, maybe doing this in a way that they can bring in other affiliates under them in their license. So those are the sorts of things I think people will need to kind of sort out.
Great. Thank you for those answers. I believe that concludes our webinar today. Thank you so much, Larry, Sue, and David, for being our guest speakers and for providing some really great information on how regulation in the U.S. is going to affect our affiliate marketing audience. As always, the recorded version of the webinar will be available on CAP within the next week. If you join this webinar, you should be getting an email with that information, how you can access it. And thank you for being so patient with the construction noise. We didn't foresee that, but I appreciate everyone hanging in there. Thanks again. I think we lost David, but Larry and Sue, I appreciate your time today and for all of your helpful information.
Thank you. And
My
of course,
pleasure.
the drilling has stopped now, of course.
Well, we lost David, that's why. Okay, guys,
it was our
thanks
pleasure.
again.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.